Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lake Life Weekend Podcast. I'm Dirk, I'm your host. Thank you so much for tuning in again. We have a growing audience. We got emails and we get Facebook posts. Thank you very much. It is really great to hear that there's so many people out there enjoying what we're doing. So stay tuned today for an interview with Ryan Swanson, who will speak about our dog Oscar. It's a Small Munsterlander breed and a very interesting hunting dog. So more in our interview part. Now I'm excited to share only one more week, and we're going to have our event in Fargo, the Explore Lake Life Expo, March 22nd, 23rd. Please come and see what we are doing. Enjoy a Friday party, Friday 22nd of March, starting at 5 p.m. right after work. We have live music on stage, the Crop Dusters, we have a food court, we have some beanbags, we have a Fargo Brewing beer bar, and the floor is full with vendors. So good times. Please come to Fargo, join us for our expo event. Now I don't want to keep this much longer for our interview with Ryan Swanson. Also check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, daily updated event schedule. Hope to see you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend ahead. Welcome to our interview part. I'm here with Ryan Swanson. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thanks for coming out to record a podcast about der kleine Munsterlander, the Small Munsterlander, which is actually the dog breed. We have our Oscar. If some people may have seen our pictures sharing Oscar, ein kleiner Munsterlander, a Small Munsterlander. And before we talk about breeding, training, and the breed itself, the history, I would like to share how I got in touch with Ryan. I was at the Minnesota Monster Buck show here in Perham just, I guess, 4 weeks ago or so. And I saw a booth, and there you were with 3 dogs and introducing this breed to the United States. You are a division of actually the German. You're a German chapter, I understand. We can dive into that.
Yes.
And actually you have a very special breeding stock. But before we talk, kleiner Munsterlander, Ryan, introduce yourself. You are from Detroit Lakes?
Yes, so I'm Ryan Swanson. I'm pretty much born and raised in Detroit Lakes. Work for a family business. We have the Swanson's Repair, the Kubota of the Lakes, all that type of stuff. And I always had a passion for hunting, but as I grew up, you learned how to hunt grouse out the cab of the pickup and realized that that's not really sportsmanlike. So I got into dogs, because when you're hunting a rough grouse and they get up next to you, your heart stops, you got no warning, and you're just walking the walk. So I started getting into dogs.
When was that?
Oh, I got my first hunting dog would have been in 2003.
Okay, 15 plus years ago.
Yep, and then it kind of got carried away. So then I ended up with 2, and then started having to replace them as they got of age, and didn't really stick with one breed. I've kind of tried a little of everything until I found this breed.
Okay, so which one was the first breed? Was it a
Yellow Lab?
Okay, but they are retrievers.
They are a retriever, but they're also a flushing dog.
Oh, they are.
So,
okay.
Yep.
Okay. Because I learned I'm not a hunter. I try, but more for the dog. So I learned some keywords, flushing, retrieving, and those things. And I know a Labrador is a water dog, and I guess they help you when a duck falls into the pond, I suppose, for example.
Yes. But so your Munsterlander.
Yeah.
So,
they're great swimmers too.
Yeah.
So you are a passionate hunter. You tried some various dogs. They're actually a tool. They're a helper for the hunter. And I think some people may underestimate their family dogs, yes, but actually they were meant and bred back more than 100 years ago to be of help for the traditional hunter, correct?
Yeah, the Munsterlander dates back before the 18th century, so
That far?
that far. So they've been one of the original 5 official dog breeds through Germany. So I mean, they date back a long time.
5? Which 5 are there?
I don't know
Okay. The
the other ones, but yeah.
Okay, there's a few breeds
Mm-hmm.
that are distinct to be hunting helpers.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, how did you find the small Munsterlander? Tell us.
So, as I was saying earlier, I got my lab was getting ready to retire, and I had an English pointer. That's a very high-strung dog, and I was looking to replace. So at that time, my wife was, you should look at this breed, at the Small Munsterlander. At the time, I didn't want to go with one, and I didn't. I went with a Brittany because of the club, the rules, the testing. I was a little bit timid from it.
Okay.
So then both my lab and my English pointer both passed pretty much back to back. So then I only had a Brittany. So then I needed another hunting dog, and at that time,
Why 2?
why 2? Because I hunt hard and I can wear a dog out.
Oh.
Because you remember, they putting on about 2 to 3 times more distance than you are.
Oh.
So I like to leave and pretty much not stop, so that way I can stop, change out a dog, and keep going.
You're a serious hunter.
Well, I enjoy it.
Okay.
You know, so it's not about limiting out. It's about being out there.
Yeah. No, I'm not making fun.
No,
I'm
So-
very new. I'm from Germany. We don't hunt as much as we do here, where I'm from. So it's I understand. There's a lot of passion. It's a season. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
the carnival season, like we and we have a hunting season here, and it's
Yes.
very serious for a lot of people. I never thought about having 2 dogs, and they're really helpers. So you're out there, and you want to spend all day.
Yep.
Before we go a little further here, I'm curious. I hunted rough grouse once, and I like to hunt pheasant. I guess I have a bird dog now with the small Munsterlander. So where do you hunt? Do you have private land, or where do you hunt your dog with the dogs?
Well, for your rough grouse in this area here, you know, you have the Tamarack Forest just northeast of Detroit Lakes.
Also public land.
That's public hunting. You know, obviously it's federal land, so they have different rules than state land. Just gets into toxic shot, that type of stuff.
Okay.
But that's all open public hunting land. There's a lot of tax forfeit land in Becker County that is, you know, good woods hunting for grouse. I started, you know, hunting pheasants north of town. We're starting to see more and more up in the Waban area, just north of Callaway, or even south of Lake Park. So
Population is growing again for the pheasant.
We're starting to actually. You're not walking all day to see one bird. You're actually seeing birds, you know, throughout the day. So it's actually increasing, and
I did not know.
Yeah.
I knew that there was a die-off or something 10, 15 years ago with the pheasant in this area for some reason. Harsh winter. I hope they survived this long. It was pretty brutal. That is hard on the birds, right?
Yeah, I think what hopefully some of it is changing is I think a lot of the farmers are starting to farm the best and leave the rest.
Okay.
I mean, if it's terrible ditch land, stuff like that, instead of they're just leaving it to habitat. So then at least the critters have somewhere to go, you know. And you can't turn everything black, because then the deer, the birds, the mice, then nothing can survive. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, that helps too. Yeah. So you got the Brittany, and then you found a small Munsterlander.
So then I contacted Jim Julson out of Coleman, South Dakota, and I talked to Jim. He is now the president of KLMGNA,
Which is the
the Ilanas Group from Germany, which is the GNA Group North America. So I contacted him, and proceeded to move forward with getting on his list. Again,
he's also breeding?
He also breeds. So part of what we're doing right now is we are, we're a young club. We pretty much got up and running about 5 years ago. So around 2013, in 2011, a group from the other dog club went over to Germany and tried to get a connection working. To the fact that they didn't agree on the rules. And like you and I talked, there's a difference in German rules and American rules and how we go about things. So they didn't see eye to eye, so the Germany said, no, we're not going to work with you. So then,
damn Germans.
Well,
I can say that.
they have a reason to be doing what they're doing because they're doing it right.
Yeah.
So then a group left that club, started the KLMGNA club, went back to Germany, and created this Ilanas group. So
the Landesgruppe is means a chapter,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes. So we are the first Ilanas group that is not on German soil. So that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So
I feel right at home.
Yes. So
kind of So that was formed in 2013.
Yep.
And that's a very young club. And now, so what is so special? You follow breeding rules, but I understand you also have German gene pool.
Yes.
So
we'll go into the genes first. Pretty much all of our dogs that we're using for breeding right now have either been imported from Germany or came over from their mother, and their mother was bred over there and then sent over here. So that's currently what we're using for breeding stock. As we grow the club, we're trying to get more people involved in breeding. We follow every one of their rules to a T. As far as when dogs are born, it's not like over here where you get a pedigree, you can go have puppies. Here with the German side, you have to prove the dog in hunt tests, in health, hips, ureter. They got to be structured right, and they got to have the right teeth. It's
so to eliminate error or prevent from errors, or to have the genes as fit as possible,
as close to standard as where German says the dog should be. So it's just even with height. Our dogs have to be within the right height. If we get a big one, we don't reuse that dog because we don't want to continue to have bigger puppies or smaller puppies.
So the idea is not to change the dog.
Correct.
In a way.
The idea is to keep the breed the way it
pure
in the way it was. So
right.
We also have a inbreeding coefficient that we have to adapt to. And over here, there's a lot of line breeding, things of that nature, which works for people in their program, how they want to do it. The Germans feel that you should not exceed a 5% inbreeding coefficient. So we really, which is kind of tough right now because for us, every dog's been imported over or brought over in the womb, and then so a lot of our dogs are related here.
Yeah.
And our first breeding pair has to be a natural breeding, not a artificial. So it's kind of hard right now for us to find a nice suitable female male to pair together because of the inbreeding coefficient and stuff like that. So there's actually been club members that have taken the trip back to Germany with their females and had them rebred over there and then brought back. So they're putting some expense into them. So,
yeah. So why go through all this effort? I mean, what makes it so special? Are they that great of a better tool? Or this sounds fairly complicated, and maybe somebody's like, what? Why do that?
For me, it gets into, I had a litter of puppies here. They went home in December. So they're about Oscar's age. And I get phone calls all the time about, and these are people that are in their 50s and 60s, and this is the best dog I've ever owned. It's already sitting, it swims, it retrieves it, and they're 4 months old. They're just they learn so fast. They are very intelligent. They know how to think. And they're a versatile breed, so they'll do anything and everything you want them to do. Like with mine, I've run all 3 of our tests with my dog, which goes everything from tracking a rabbit to a quarter-mile blood track. They're also pointing dogs, so they got to be steady to flush, all that, steady to shot in the test. But at the end of the day, it's just a dog that you can control. I can have mine out chasing a rabbit and blow her down with a whistle, and she'll stop. She'll quit the chase. And just because they are
so obedient,
and they have drive like no tomorrow in the field. You can bring them in here, lay on the floor, and they would be quiet and hardly even know they're there. So they know how to turn the switch on and turn it off.
Yeah, I learned that too. Oscar, I'm very new to that breed. I'm listening very carefully, and I'm amazed. He listens really well. I can turn him around. When I say 9, I speak German to Oscar. So when I say 9, he's pretty much, he just turns around, comes to me. He comes like 75-80%. Well, he's 5 months old. He tests his limits a little bit, but he's really good.
He's a puppy, and it's still supposed to be fun at his age. There's supposed to be no hard training on him. Right. It's all supposed to be fun.
Right. And I think I think the balance is there. Yeah, I have him usually off leash. 90%. Even through perm, I walk on the backside by the tracks, so I don't have him on the leash, but in Fargo I have him on a small little leash, of course. But I'm happy to be out in the fields or like gravel roads, so he can roam, and I think he enjoys that. But he doesn't run off really. No, I'm fascinated. And inside, he really calms down. He is he's cuddly, but to a certain extent. But he is just not bouncing around too much.
Yeah, and some breeds hunt for themselves. When you take them out in the field, the dog does what it wants to do, and it's what's bred into him. And where this dog hunts for you, it watches you, it works with you. Yeah. If you start to go a different direction, the dog will not just keep doing what they're doing. They'll actually check in, come back. They really work for you. So
I agree. Yeah. He's constantly checking. He's constantly turning his head. And if I go a different direction, he lets go of his tracking.
Yep.
Or whatever he was doing, he comes.
Yep.
Okay, so it is, and it is special. Then is it very different than a Brittany? What's different than that, or like a German short hair, or is there anything else different?
Well, the short hair is the Kutzar.
The Kutzar. Okay.
Yeah, and so over in Germany it's the Kutzar. So the Kutzar is also a versatile hunting dog.
Okay.
Over there they're a great retriever also.
Yeah.
Over here, a lot of people just use them for upland pointing dogs.
Correct.
They do retrieve, but these dogs, it's a strong retrieve. Okay. Their tracking ability is unreal. I duck hunted like most people that live around here. You know, and we'd go out. My lab would do a great retrieve. Like everybody, I thought I had the best lab in the world, and she was good. But we would lose some birds that would swim off or stuff like that. I don't lose birds anymore. The dog actually tracks ducks on water. They can actually track the oil from the scent, and you just get the dog out there and she'll find it. So it is, when you start seeing stuff like that, and when I first saw or heard about it, I was skeptical. I was like, there's no way. Come on. And so I went to a test, watched it, and it was like, oh my goodness, they're serious. These things will track on water. It's just, their nose is so incredible of how much stronger their nose is. They're very well put together dog.
Yeah. Oscar also always has his nose down. Mm-hmm. He just Like that's all he does.
Yeah.
Nose down, pretty much when he walks, and is just following some scent, and he follows foot tracks really well. I mean, my son Harry went off, and then he just like he totally follows that track. Okay, that's where he was, and then comes back. I can see that he can smell it.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I got one of my puppy buyers that sent me videos. They were out running their dog, obviously not up here because they had grass, but the dog was already finding antler sheds. 5-month-old dog, not trained to find sheds, but went out. They were out, running through the woods, and something. Oh, there's something. That's.
Bringing it. Then.
And then picking it up and bringing the shed back to the handler. I mean, just natural.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible the variety of things that these dogs can do. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I was amazed that retrieving thing. Like, a month ago, 4 months old puppy. It was fun for him to retrieve. Like, he didn't run away with. If he caught the ball or if he didn't have fun that you chased him. He had fun if he brought it to you.
Yep.
I was like, wow, he just brought it to you.
Yep.
And then you throw it, and then without training. It was, yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the history. So you said it's 18th century?
Yes.
So 1700 something?
Yep.
It's really an
old dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the lot of what we get around here is when people, they'll go on our website or on KLNGNA, or they'll be on my website. It's Swanson Kennels LLC, and they'll be like, "What kind of dog?" And over here, there is the Small Munsterlander Club. Well, because we are the Ilanas Group of Germany, ours are the Kleine Munsterlander.
That's
so
the
we
German
use the German word. Obviously translates the same, but so when you tell people you have a Kleine Munsterlander, their first reaction is a what?
Yeah.
And so then you open that conversation about what it is. Well, first thing they go, what's it crossed with? Well, it's not crossed with anything. It's an old dog. It's been around forever. It's just more or less new to this area, or North America. It's been a very hot dog. I mean, as far as a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. You're seeing a lot of, like any breed, people start to get them, and then they start doing what I'm going to call not proper breeding tactics. I mean, you see that with other, puppy mills, stuff like that, with any breed. But some people are in it for the money. Others are in it for the true keeping the line as pure as it possibly can. So it gets into ethics of the breeder. So with our club, we again follow everything Germany does. We use a dog base. My wife's good at these numbers, but I think there's almost 40,000 dogs in this dog base that are just
database.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, and they call it dog base. It's only the Kleine Munsterlander in that dog base. So then with that, we can go or they can go and they can trap epilepsy, any hip issues, all this type of health issues. So if it did show up in a dog, then they'll actually go and pull breeding generations uphill to make sure that it doesn't continue.
Oh.
So they're very strict on keeping the line as pure as possible, and not, I mean, nobody wants to have a dog with epilepsy and have seizures while you're trying. I mean, just in general, you don't want to see that in your pet, you know. So
that happens when you breed too close to cousins, and when
I don't know where that comes from, honestly, but I do know that it is in some of the breeds over here. You know, so all I can tell people is, you know, do your research and really research your breeder is the big thing. So find out where their bloodlines came from, and you know, a lot of breeders do talk well. It's kind of like politics, and but you know, do your own research. There's a lot of talk to other buyers, talk to other members that might know them, stuff like that. So yeah.
And so what I found was interesting. You actually go to shows as a Landesgruppe, as the chapter, and you are interested to introduce that breed to the hunter of today.
Yes. Yeah. So like we were in Perm at the Minnesota Buck Classic. We did a blood tracking seminar there on how we train our dogs for blood tracking. Again, got to follow your state rules, whether or not it's allowed or not. And if it is allowed, what stipulations are on the blood tracking. So
blood tracking means if there's an injured deer, for example, running off out of sight, and you tracking it to find it so it doesn't go lost for waste.
Yes.
That dog on a leash, on a very long leash, can help you find the wounded then deer.
Yeah, and obviously the dog's got to be trained in it. So, like when I ran my test, it was a quarter-mile blood test. It was about a 4 or 5 hour blood lay. So it was late at 8 in the morning. I was running right around noon. So when I ran,
dry, that old.
Yep. So it was 4 hours old. It was 88 degrees out, and so it was hot, and we were in sandy soil. Quarter mile, I couldn't find blood. Literally, I had no idea where that blood was laid. I was completely
clueless.
I was clueless. I've never been so into just I'm done. Let's go home. And I'd down my dog and I'd try to look. I'd look at leaves. I'd look at everything. I could not find any blood. And look back at my dog, and she's trying to get up and wants to go. So I'd go over there and I'd look at her and I'd say, "You think you know where it's at? Let's go." And I'd release her, and she would nose to the ground and away she'd go. And in that quarter mile, I found 2 leaves with blood on them. That was it. And if that was hunting without, if that was a hunting scenario, I would have said I missed the deer and let it go. And it was just the conditions and everything else. We've done tests in the rain, and the dog finds the deer. Washed out blood, the dog will find the deer. So, when you've had them good shots, but yet the elements have changed your tracking, the dog will still find it. So I'd hope that eventually all states will go into allowing blood tracking to be legalized, and obviously have some rules on it, not just so people are out there running dogs, unleashed and loose. So,
there is, as far as I understood, there is some regulation to prevent the chase of an animal with a dog. I think that's where the origin of any regulation right now lays. It's not so clear if a leashed dog would actually, because it is a helping tool, would be acceptable. So there's right now it's not so clear in the state of Minnesota.
Correct. So there is some legislation right now trying to clean that up so it's more defined.
Yeah, that's the right word. It's definition. But I find a very good argument, because why lose the animal, the deer? I mean, okay, good for the coyote or for whoever eats the eagles, but it was game, and you obviously heard it. You want to.
Yeah, as a sportsman, you want to do everything possible to find the animal that you have harvested.
Yeah.
And I know Jim, when we were in, Jim Julson, when we were in Perm doing our deal, he had an outfitter, and I think the outfitter was from Wyoming, and they do 12 archery hunts on elk a year. And you can't use dogs in Wyoming. And they would lose 3 to 4 of those elk.
Oh no!
Because
out of 12. That's a third.
Because of the archery hit, the broadhead. I mean, it was still a hit, but it was probably a good hit. But the size of the animal and everything else, the amount of blood,
suffocate somewhere.
Yeah, and so they'd run off. And if you can utilize that dog, a gentleman in Idaho. I know him also. He's the judge in the JGHV system. There you can use dogs. He went out and helped a buddy over 700 meters. He goes, you didn't hit that deer or that elk. And he goes, no, in the video, because he had a GoPro on him, he said you could watch that arrow go right through the elk. And so they brought the dog out the next morning, 700 meters, and he was just like, this is what you call trusting your dog. That dog tracked that right to it.
Really, a day later.
Day later. And
a day later.
Yep.
Wow.
So I mean, it's amazing what these breeds can do. That gentleman had I think he runs Kutzars, I think is what he has. So, but still, that's still part of the JGHV system, which is your Drothars, your Longhars, your Poodle Pointers, your Wieslas, your Kleine Munsterlanders, your Kutzars. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So a real helper. Very old, traditional. You breed and train in Detroit Lakes. So you also have a training. How do you perform training? So if do you train any dog?
I
breed. I mean,
I train my dogs.
Okay.
I'm not a professional trainer.
Okay.
So I train my dogs. I have helped other club members come up and I got homing pigeons. I get birds in the spring, so I raise some pheasants and for training. The nice thing is with these dogs is like with my dog, when I trained her, every duck, every pheasant, every pigeon was never harmed. They're very soft mouthed. They would bring them back on the retrieve, and you get to reuse that game. So they're not vicious.
Right.
They're very, very soft mouth. In Germany, they really, the idea of hunting is, for the food.
Right.
So we can't have a dog that's mauling the birds or crushing them or putting teeth marks in them. The food, and what they tell when we do the test is that the game has to be presentable for table.
Right.
So if it's all chewed up, it's not presentable for table. So it's really kind of nice to have a dog that just naturally is very soft mouthed. I mean, carrying live ducks around, no problem. I mean, they just bring them back, sit like you were saying with Oscar, brings it back, sits by you, and look what I got. You know? So
brings you a live duck, and then the duck could but that's. You shot the duck too, is it?
Well, so for training, I take a duck out of the pen because obviously I'm using my ducks, and so I'll take a duck out of my pen and then, go set it in an area so the dog's got to find it.
Okay.
And then so when the dog finds it, then she brings it back. So
without
harming it. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Oh wow.
So that way, when you're done, you go home, you put it back in the pen, and.
Okay.
Yeah, and it goes and eats more corn and swims around in the pool. So.
Okay, and then you use it again.
And I use it again. Yeah.
Fascinating. So, how many litters do you breed a year? Is it one?
So I only have the one dog, and I have just had my first litter. So with our club, and under the German rules, a breeder can only have up to 2 litters a year.
Okay.
So even if I had 10 dogs, I can only have 2 litters a year.
Oh.
And
not per dog.
And no, and each dog can only have 2 litters in basically about 3 years' time. So they're very strict on the fact that, at the end of the day, we would need to keep the mother healthy too. We can't be just pumping puppies out every heat cycle.
Yeah, that's what I always thought.
And every female can only have, I think it's 5 litters total.
Oh.
Before she'll age out. And so our dogs actually will age out, and even the males and the females will age out. So even if we have...
the male too.
The male too. So even if we have specimens pulled from him for doing AIs, once he is aged out, that stuff is discarded, because we don't use it even once he's aged out. Where some other clubs will hang on to stuff. I mean, I got a buddy who his dog's in a different club, and they're using specimens from back in the 70s that they've been that dog must have been a rock star, you know. But
I was just saying, he must have been a rock star.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I mean, it's very, very tight. Males can only. I don't have any males, so I don't know the actual number. But even a male for natural breeding can only sire so many litters in a year. Mm-hmm. So they really don't want to flood the market per se.
Right.
Yeah.
Very regulated. Yeah. Sounds healthy.
Yes.
So, but if somebody is interested, are you meeting irregularly? Are you going to another show, or like they can find you as a breeder? Are you the representative of the chapter of the Landesverband Landesgruppe up in this area, West Central Minnesota?
So what we have is if you go to klmgna.com or .org, klmgna.org, you can go and there are regional contacts.
Uh-huh.
So we'll
put a link on the website.
Yeah. So there's a spot there, and you can go into the contacts, and there'll be an email, a phone number for people in different parts of North America.
Uh-huh.
So up in this area, I am the regional contact. I'm also going to be holding a Meet the Breed.
Uh-huh.
And I just forgot the date. But
spring or something?
It's
this
this
year?
spring. I got it on my phone. But
we will put that on the website too.
Oh, June 15th, I think it is, a Saturday.
Okay.
And we're gonna do it. It's whether it's the 14th, the 13th, the 16th, but it's right around the June 15th. It's gonna be at my house in Detroit Lakes. We're gonna have a Meet the Breed. I got Jim Juleson's coming up from South Dakota with his Munsterlanders. Donna Dustin from Detroit Lakes will also be there. Steve Gould, a lot of people know Steve from Gould Brothers exhibition shooting. He's a trick shooter for Winchester.
Oh, wow.
He's got one of our dogs that just yesterday finished all of her health certificates. So now she is approved for breeding. So we're making progress. So Steve will be there also, hopefully, unless he gets a gig. But right now he said he's not booked. So, but yeah, so we'll have quite a few different dogs there, so people can come down, kind of meet the dogs. We'll run some demonstration runs, stuff like that, just show what they do or what they can do. And then what I do is I'm also going to have a training day, but it's more or less for the dogs that are running the JGHV system.
Okay.
So it's if you're running a NAVDA test or something like that, it's a totally different way that we do our testing. So later in the day or the following day, I'm going to do the puppy test, kind of run through people that are new or want to get involved in it. Okay. That this is what they're looking for. And we'll go out and we'll beat the bushes, get some rabbits to run away, and then once the rabbits run away, then we bring a dog in and have the dog run that scent track.
Really?
And just see how good the dog does on a fresh hot scent, So and then we'll do some bird work and stuff like that. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Big program.
Yeah, hopefully some people show up and kind of see that there are other breeds out there than the traditional breeds that everybody around here just kind of tends to go with.
Mm-hmm,
so, yeah.
Do they need to make an appointment, or do you prefer an email, or can they just show up in June? They
can just show up. So we're gonna put it on our website. I'm gonna mail some flyers out. A lot of the vets say they'll post a flyer. They're fine with it. So we're gonna mail some flyers to vets, that type of stuff. And then also other club members will send out, and they'll boost it, Facebook, that type of stuff.
Yeah, we'll post it too.
Yeah,
that sounds really interesting.
So it should be I'm hoping a good event, even if 10, 15 people show up that are just curious about what the dogs can do. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of good, what I say, interested people in perm that were just, really, a dog can do that. Yep, these dogs can do that, and it's their feather or fur. They'll do it all. They'll even do over in Germany. our breed warden, the one dog she imported over here, pregnant, Yana is her name, and the dog's name, and Yana was used for boar hunting over in Germany.
Boar.
Yeah. So I mean, they're
That's a big one.
they're such an intelligent dog that when I was down in Texas last year, my dog got in on a pig down there, and never been around a pig before, but she knew how to handle it.
Really?
I mean, just it was natural, and it was like all I was thinking is, oh boy, here comes the vet bills, and but yeah, she knew how to handle it. She cornered it, she trapped, she did everything like if you were actually going to hunt that pig, and it was like I'd never trained for this, and she's never been exposed to a hog.
Huh?
Yeah, but it's just their natural instinct.
Wow, yeah, fascinating. Well, I'm glad you have an event coming up in June for people actually to meet the breed.
Yes.
That's very good. I'm glad we were able to capture that, and people follow Oscar, I hope, and maybe we find somebody interested and visit you in Detroit Lakes. We also post your website. It's Swanson Kennel LLC.
Yep.
.com.
Yep.
Yeah. You have a Facebook page?
We do.
Yeah.
Kleine Munsterlanders.
Kleine Munsterlanders.
Yeah. So
it's a little difficult to spell if you're not. It means ice forest.
Yes.
Small Munsterlander. Yeah.
So because with the German side, we have to pick a dog, a legal club or a name.
Uh-huh.
And my wife's grandmother was Eiswald.
Oh, it's a
family name.
Family name.
So then we get into, you got Vom or Von,
Von and Van and Von. Yeah. Von is the German. Van is actually the Dutch.
Yeah. Well, the way they say is one is of the and from the. Is how they kind of presented it to us.
Yeah.
And so we use Vom for instead of for of the or from the ice forest.
From the ice forest, yeah.
Instead of Von, which would have been from the family type of deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
nice, good.
So we could have used it either way, but I just like the M.
Ach, von und vom. Yeah, okay, richtig. I understood. There's also VAN. VAN is the Dutch, and then von oder vom. You're absolutely right. Yes.
VON or VOM.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, correct. Well, very interesting. Thank you very much. I learned a lot about my own little Oscar, and I'm very happy that I have him part of our family, and I hope many more people will get in touch with you to see the breed in action and maybe find their new partner and hunting dog. Thank you for coming, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, and if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com, and you have a wonderful weekend ahead.